Hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi. Welcome to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast, and I'm donning the Wild jersey right now because I'm going to the game tonight, and I might film some things just for a fun little short vlog to put on the channel. Maybe I won't, but we'll see. But that's why I'm wearing this. But I had to put the Vikings hat on because the Vikings made a major trade going into the end of the trade deadline. And as it stands right now, it's 3:05 on the clock, which means that I've been refreshing the Adam Schefter Twitter feed. As it stands right now, it's looking like this was the only move the Vikings made, but it was a big one to help our offense. So I'm going to be talking about the trade we made for TJ Hockenson, an eighth round, or I keep saying eighth round, eighth overall pick in the 2018 draft, I believe. And he's been a great tight end. A couple injuries kind of tripped him up for a couple of the years that he's played so far. He's now in his fourth year. This is his fourth year. So an interesting decision by the Lions to make this trade. For that reason, this is his fourth year. Next year, he has another year left on his contract. The Vikings will have the fifth year option on him. So it's not like it was a cap situation for the Lions. And, I mean, maybe they were just trying to tank. Maybe Hockenson just wasn't in their future of what they saw with the team. Who knows? Maybe they have big plans for this second-round pick that we're going to give them. But it's looking like right now the Lions gave up TJ Hockenson. The Vikings also received a fourth-round pick in 2023 and a 2024 fourth-round pick conditional. And that condition is it turns into a fifth-round pick. If the Vikings, depending on whether or not the Vikings make the playoffs, I'm not sure if they make the playoffs this year or next year, but it's something like that. And then the Lions get a 2023 second-round pick and a 2024 third-round pick. So a second and a third for 2/4 and TJ Hockenson, who is for sure one of the top 10 tight ends in the league and arguably one of the top 5. So looking at some of the seasons he's had so far, going into some of these stats, 2019 was his first year, and he played only 12 games. He had a few injuries that year, and it was kind of a slow get-off for him, only 367 yards. The one thing that's been consistent for him is that he's had a pretty high average per target, which is not per target, per completion, which is about an average of around 11 or 12, which is pretty good. And two touchdowns in that first season. And then 2020 was a great year for him. 723 yards. He caught 6 touchdowns that year. 2021, he also had an injury, only played 12 games. That was kind of an okay year for him. Considering he only played 12 games, 583 yards is pretty good for a tight end. And now this year, he's only 7 games in. He already has almost 400 yards receiving. He's averaging 15 yards per reception, which is great. He even caught an 81-yard pass this year. Had 3 touchdowns, including a 2-touchdown game against the Seahawks earlier in the season. So this is a dynamic guy. He's a great pass catcher. And I'm very excited for what he's going to do in this offense, because now, looking at our offense, we now have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, which is a really good, solid 3. I would have loved for us to make a move in this trade deadline for another wide receiver to maybe compete with Thielen and Osborne for that kind of complementary role to Justin Jefferson. I would have loved us getting Claypool, but he went to the Bears. Poor Claypool. But even so, we now have those 3 in a tandem. We have Delvin Cook running the ball, Alexander Mattison, a fantastic, probably the best backup in the league, in my opinion. And then we have now TJ Hockenson. And the big thing this does for us is that we now have a tight end that is a pure pass-catching and blocking tight end, which is something we did not have. Munt has been really good blocking, and it's something that we haven't seen a lot because we don't get him on the field enough due to the fact that he hasn't been catching a lot of passes. Caught his first touchdown last week, but he really hasn't been that great catching the ball. Irv Smith, who, injury or not, has not been playing that great either. He is a big, deep threat, but he just can't bring in some of these big passes, not to mention he cannot block for the life of him so far in his career. And now with Irv Smith being out, it's looking like approximately 6 to 10 weeks, which is the majority of the rest of the season. We needed a tight end anyway to step up, and Munt was not going to be the guy that can step up and be a big producer for us. So now bringing in Hockenson, we have a big-bodied tight end who can get us some big plays in third and short situations where we now have an option to either go short to him to get the first down, or we can go deep for a big home run play with Jefferson. Whereas before we had to either send Jefferson on these shallow routes that don't make him happy, or you have to take a risk when there's probably not a lot of guys cheating to the inside because we don't have a good tight end. So now we have that dual threat. TJ Hockenson is going to, he can go deep too, but TJ Hockenson now can kind of play that middle of the field, and now we've got multiple wide receiver threats that we know can get down the field that now are drawing. Now we've got some safeties being drawn in to try and cover Hockenson, and they will now have more space to work. And I really love Hockenson in this offense. I think this offense, the way that this offense is stylized and run, it definitely needs a solid tight end to make everything work well. And not only that, Hockenson is a great red zone threat, and we need a red zone threat because there have been times where we haven't been able to convert in that red zone situation, and to be able to not just draw some attention away from our dynamic playmakers on offense, but to have another guy that can kind of sneak through the lines, because everyone's thinking about Jefferson. Everyone's thinking about Osborne. He's been really clutch in the big moments. And now we've got a very capable tight end who has some muscle, has some height, has some big play potential as well. And I love having him on our team. So looking at this trade deadline for the Vikings, I would have loved for us to get another cornerback, get a Greedy Williams type guy. Definitely would have loved to have more help on defense. I would have loved a linebacker maybe to help with some of the we've seen some slowness out of some of these veteran guys. Just it didn't have to be a big name guy. Just some depth at that position that could come in and be kind of a quicker option in the plays where we need a quicker option. But this defense has come up big when it counts. And they're not the best defense in the league. They still continue to be a little bit of a liability for this team, but they have definitely been exceeding expectations, and they've been, like I said, been coming up in the big moments, and that's all that matters. And now it's looking like, coming out of the bye, it's looking like this will have to be kind of a scheme change on defense if we're going to fix some of these soft coverage issues, because Ed Donatel now has the same guys to work with that he's been working with all season, as opposed to having some quicker guys that can work better in this defense that he's created. So he's going to have to fix some things as far as this batch of guys, and we're going to have to see how that works. But TJ Hockenson is now a Viking. So pumped about that. It's going to make our offense a big difference, bigger or better, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. So let me know your thoughts in the comments about this. Definitely worth. It wasn't something that we had to reach for. If you get that deal, you take it. The Lions, I don't know what the Lions were thinking, trading within the division, and now Hawkinson's going to terrorize them in Detroit later in the season. So really excited about this. Wish we could have made a couple more moves at the trade deadline, but all in all, we're 6-1, and now we made our team better. And our offense is only going to keep improving from what we've had. The communication's going to get better, and I'm just really excited. So thanks for watching this one, and I'm going to be doing a full breakdown tomorrow of the entire trade deadline. Some last-minute things coming in here that I can talk about. A few big moves for defensive guys that I can talk about. The Ravens made a big acquisition that I'll talk about. I'll do all that tomorrow. And for now, thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you on the flip side. Skol.